Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar about creating landscape models with Naviate. That's what we're going to show today. To create landscape model, you have me, Caroline. I'm going to show you how to do this in Naviate. I have my colleague Thomas here in the background. Like wave to the audience. He's going to answer questions. Keep track of that. You have questions on your panel in the GoToWebinar panel. Please use that. If you have both questions and chat, please use the questions. It's easier to keep track of. And then I also have my colleague Torbjörn, who's here today, who's going to show us how to make the model that I'm creating even better. But we'll get to that, what that is. So that is the agenda for today. If we just move over to the next slide. A little bit of introduction. I'm just going to show you a little bit about our websites. I'm going to show you our YouTube site as well. And then I'm going to create this model with Naviate Landscape. I'm going to go through all these different functionalities. And then Torbjörn is going to take over and see what we can do with the same model, but in Twinmotion. So that will be in about half an hour. So that is the plan. Just remember to ask questions, any questions, that would be good. So I'm just going to start by showing you a little bit of housekeeping. All the webinars that we do are recorded. So I'm just going to make sure that you can see my Naviate, yes, or my Civil, my website. All of them are recorded. You can find them on naviate.com under Insights, so then you have webinars. So here you have all the different webinars that we do. Right now, we actually have all the webinars that we have planned for this fall. So you have a Civil surface and you also have an Min-Max surface. So you can sign up for these two if you're interested. But otherwise, you will also find the ones that we've done. So we have 3D pies and sheet pies, for instance, here that we did a week ago. But I also want to make a little suggestion that you go into our YouTube channel. So the Naviate YouTube channel has been updated in the last couple of weeks with a lot of Civil 3D content. You can also find the webinars here. So you can find the webinars that Thomas and Martin did about pies and sheet piles. But you can also find our functionalities that we've updated. So right now we've added all these 1 minute, 2 minute videos showing the different functions that we have in Naviate. And we have more coming. I don't think we have all of them up just yet, but there's a lot of them that we've added up here. So if you're interested in just seeing specifically how one function works, I would recommend to go into the YouTube channel on Naviate, and you can see them there. Good. I think that was what I wanted to add. I will add one more thing, though, if I go back to Naviate. You can talk to Hans as well here if you want to, but I'm going to go in and see the blog, because we have blog posts here. So if I just go to Civil 3D, we can see the ones that we have for Civil. I'm going to create a blog post about today's sort of topic as well, to have it sort of written down how you do these different steps, and that will be posted here as well. So here you have different blog posts that we create for different Naviate functionalities. Good. I think that was it. So let's go into Civil 3D and see how that looks. So I'm actually going to turn off my webcam so you can focus on the Civil 3D model. So I'm going to see if I can find the button for it. So there we go. So the Civil 3D model. So this one is the one that I'm going to make a little prettier. Right now, what I have is the surface. I've already created sort of the modeling surface that I'm after. But it's really hard to sort of see what this is if you don't have anything else around it. So the goal here is to make sure that you understand what you're seeing. So the goal is not to design stuff that is 100% accurate. It's more about visualizing the model and seeing where you are. So that is the goal for this exercise that we're doing. But this surface that I have, my existing ground, is all built up with feature lines. So it's all about feature lines to creating this triangulation that you see before you right now. So I'm going to start by creating houses. So you see these squares that I have, these represent the footprint of the houses in my area. But I don't have anything in 3D. And I don't really know anything else about them. I just know that I have a house here. I have a building here. These are down on 0. So if I zoom out in my model here, you can see they are down here at 0. So the first thing I want to do is I want to raise these to an elevation. So we have a functionality here for raising polylines. So I'm going to start by raising this, and I'm going to raise these to the roof elevation. Because create house that I'm going to use later, it actually uses the roof elevation to extrude the houses down to the ground. So they need to be sort of the roof elevation first. So that's why I'm using my raised polyline. So raised polyline, I'm going to select an object, select one of these lines, because I can just say use all of them. So it's very easy to create this for multiple polylines. Right now I only have 5. So select all objects on this layer, raise them to the existing ground, but make them between 15 and 18 meters in this case high. So they're going to raise to the surface and then plus 15, between 15 and 18. So it's going to be a random elevation. That means that we're going to get a bit more life in the model than if they're just complete the same boxes standing around. Click OK, and it's raised the polylines. Next step is to create the house. So create house, you notice that the lines are already selected. So I'm going to do create house. Since they are selected, I can do select objects. Then I click on select, and then I'm going to use P for previous. The houses, they will be on my layer house, and the roof will be on the layer roof. They will be extruded down to my existing ground, and they're going to be extruded below existing ground, just to make sure that they are they look like they're sitting on the surface. I'm going to, 5 meters is quite a lot. The reason for that is because this surface is it has quite a steep slope. So I just want to make sure that all of them are created below the surface. Create house, and then I get these solids looking like this. So they're just for illustration purposes to make sure that I can see this model so it's a little bit prettier and I can see where I am in the real life scenario here. That's the first part. I'm actually going to start by saving this drawing. I don't anticipate any problems today, but you never know. So I'm going to work from the top down. So you'll notice me working with a few different functionalities, but I'm going to repeat them so you'll see different variations of them. So at the top here, I want to have light posts. So to place objects along a line, we use 3D measure. So 3D measure, I'm going to select my feature line up here, and I'm going to call this light post. Going to select the block. I already have it in my drawing, so I'm using my road light. And I'm going to say that this should be 10 meters, exact interval along this line. Click OK. And we can see the light post there. It's actually asking me if I'm happy. Do you want to keep the created objects? And I realize now that, well, I want this to be a little bit more spread out. So I'm going to say no. And then I want to say I need this at 12 meters instead. Click OK. And they're a bit more spread out. And I can see that I get the final one over there. If I'm happy, I click yes, and I get the object done. These are grouped. That's why the whole thing is selected. So I can go in and edit this later if I want to. So I can change these afterwards if I want them to be that. Next step, down here, I want to have a railing up here. So again, 3D measure. I want to place a railing along this line up here. Now the difference between railing and the light post is that the railing has a length to it. So I need to handle this a bit differently. So I'm going to select this feature line. And I don't have the railing inside this drawing, so I'm just going to do browse. And that goes out to the standard support folder for NV blocks. So inside here, I have 3D blocks, and then I can find my railing. This is the library that's a part of Naviate that you get when you install Naviate, but you can use any blocks you like. So you can have anything here that you want to use. Right now, I'm using the railing block. The number 2 there means that that is the length of the railing. So that will be my interval. But I also want to use, instead of exact interval, I want to use interval and direction. The reason by this, interval and direction by chord length, is because this is an arc. Because I want them to be along the arc here. And then I'm going to click OK. And it's turned the wrong way. So again, if I'm not happy, use no, come back to the dialog and make changes. So in this case, I'm going to make the change here for angle. Click OK, and they're turned correctly. If I'm happy, click yes, and I get it created. So in this case, it didn't really place the blocks all the way, to this edge. So I'm actually going to place one more block, just individual block in this case, because we can use the block library functionality to place individual blocks. Now remember, the goal here is to make something that is visually okay, not exact design. That is not really the goal. It's good if we can do both, but it's not the goal for this exercise. So block library goes to the same place. Now the difference between using block library and another method of inserting blocks is that we can easily project a surface here. So I can just say, I want this block to be on my new ground because it wants to be up here. So I go into my 3D blocks, find the same block, the railing top. I'm also going to squash it a little bit, just to make sure that it doesn't overlap too much. So I'm going to say the X scale should be 0.8, but the Y scale should be 1. I'm not going to use that one. So project the surface, new ground, insert, and then I'm just going to place it up here. Turn it, and I get it in like that. So from a little bit of distance, you can't see that it's squashed. It's just make sure that you get the block placed correctly. So you don't see that you're missing something there. So these two in combination to place block library to place individual blocks, 3D measure to place blocks, multiple blocks along different lines. Next step, what we're actually looking at here is different elevations. So you're supposed to be able to walk along these sort of paths here. But we want to be able to move between the different elevations. So we want to have stairs. So between these red lines that I have here, I want to have stairs going down. To make stairs with Naviate, we use line set. So dynamic line set basically copies 3D polylines. So I'm going to create a dynamic line set. I'm going to start from this feature line up here. I'm going to do it on this side. And I want this to be between these red lines. And I'm going to show you why I want this. I'm actually going to purposely make this outside. I'm going to stay inside on this side. And then I get to select a template. So we have grading templates up here. So I actually have a stair going downwards. And we can see the staircase there. So I can see that it's a bit too long. So I'm going to remove the final step here. And I can see that I get it shorter. I'm going to click OK. And I get it created like that. But now I can actually see that it's the steps are too shallow, they're too low. They need to be a bit deeper to make sure that I can get all the way down. So I can go in and edit this. So edit line set, click on one of the lines, and I come back in here. The downside of this is a very easy way to manage this, but I have to change them individually. So if I want this to be just a little bit better, because I want them to be the same elevation, the same height. So I need to change them one by one, these offsetted, because every row here is an offsetted 3D polyline. So you can see that it's moving downwards slowly with every one that I select. But if I've already done this one time, I can actually apply a new template. So I have one that's called stair 0.16. Then I just get them changed. So every time you do something that is new here, remember to save a template so you can use it the next time. It makes it so much easier. Click OK, and now I get my new stair. I want to have the same staircase over here. I don't need to redo this and do it all over again. I can copy my line set. So copy line set, select the one I want to copy from, select where I want to place it, that side, and this length. And I get a copy of my staircase. So now I have two of them that's going down there. Right now they are individual lines or individual surfaces, but I want these to be a part of my main surface. So I want to paste this because the surfaces are here, but I can paste this on my main surface. This is my new ground. So I can just paste it. This is a standard Civil 3D. Paste surface, place my two gradings. I should have made better names, but you can't make it, you can't be good at everything. So now I have it as a part of my main surface. I have the individual surfaces already in the background. But now we can see the problem that I have with the red line. My staircase up here is just outside my red line. And the red line defines the triangulation. So if I've done my staircase outside, the triangulation starts outside. So that is the reason why I want to stay inside, but I can always just move the red line a little bit. Because if I move the red line, make sure that I snap on that elevation, it just means that the triangulation will stop there. So when you do this, when you start doing this sort of landscape modeling, it's very important to keep track of your triangulations. And this is one way of doing it, making sure you have these control lines to sort of break up the triangulation that you're doing. But it's easy to fix, it's easy to change if you want to do it like that. So those were my staircases. Down here, I want to have a gabion, a stone gabion, wire meshes filled with rocks. I think they're called gabions. They're called gabions in Sweden as well. I think it's called gabions in England, in English. So for this, I just want to illustrate them. So I'm going to do a extrude along path. So extrude along path is when we create solids along something else. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to say this one should be dimensions. It should be 0.5 meter on each side. That is my section for my stone gabion. Extrude along path. I get to select the profile since I have it in my drawing. Select it, select my profile. And I'm going to say the midpoint here should be the base. And then no rotation. I'm just going to click create. And I can select this feature line that is here. And it's creating the solid along that line. Just to get sort of an illustration that something should be there. I get a solid from there. You can also do this more complicated. It doesn't have to be just a square. So you see that I have a sort of another profile that I've drawn before. So I can use this to create a seating arrangement here along the next elevation. So again, extrude along path, profile, select my profile, select a base point, just going to use the end point down there, and no rotation. Click create and select my feature line. In this case, it's turned the wrong way. So I have the option down here to do flip, and then it's created correctly, and I can just close the door. Something to remember here that we can read on the command line. There is something called a mid-ordinate distance. The lines that I'm working with here, the feature lines, they are arcs. And the reason why I want to point that out is because when you're working with arcs in Civil 3D, you need to take care of your mid-ordinate distance. That is the distance that determines how many triangles you use. In this case, our Naviate functionality tells me that the mid-ordinate distance for these solids is stored in site properties. And this was really good that I noticed this because I was wondering where I could find that information. So we're actually printing it there from our Naviate command. So if I want this to be even nicer, even more triangles, then I could change the mid-ordinate distance in site properties and then redo the functionality. But I want to make sure that you get a sort of a warning here. The lower you set these values, the more triangles you get, the more intense your drawing will be, the heavier your drawing will be, and the more likely it will be to crash. So just be aware of how many triangles you're actually adding to your drawing. If it's not necessary, at least consider if you want to add it or not. Because it might not work. It might just be that one triangle too many. I'm going to add a tree in just a little bit. And if you add one tree, that's fine. If you add 50 trees, things might not be fine. And it's very individual. It's very individual to your drawing and what you're going to do. So just be aware that perhaps you don't want to do it as fancy as you might like. It might be a good idea to keep down the triangles as well. But the option is yours. Just be aware. Back to my extrude along path. So if I now realize that, well, it's too low. This is supposed to be a bench. They're supposed to sit here. If I now realize that, well, this is definitely too low, I can raise this. So I can take this profile, I can raise it up, I can change the profile a little bit, and then I can use update. So update solid, select my solid, and then it's updated to the new version of it. Just trying to wonder if it actually did the update. Yeah, it did. There we go. So you can change the profile and you can use it that way as well. We also have a couple of standard profiles, a part of our drawing, or a part of our Naviate functionality. So if I go back to my extrude along path, we have the option of using block. So I can do browse, I can come out to my standard, so you can store extrude profiles in this library and you can reuse them. So you don't have to have them inside your drawing. So in this case, I have a curbstone, a standard curbstone that I can use. Create, select the feature line, and then just hit OK. And it's pretty. So you can also use the block library to get these solids out there if you want to. I said that I was going to add trees. I'm going to do that along this side here. So, and placing objects along line, we do 3D measure. So select the path, a 3D poly. The 3D poly is all the way around though. So once I've selected my tree, this is also inside my drawing. I want to do exact interval. I want to have 2 meters, but I don't want to have it along the whole thing. So I can use start here and say, I want them to start over here and I want them to end over there. Then I'm going to click OK, and it's placing my trees. We can see that they're placed a bit weirdly because they're placed directly to my line. So the trees here are sort of sloped. Again, not happy, use no, and I have the option here to align to main path. And then they're actually going to be placed straight up and down. So there's quite a bit of options here on how to place these objects to make sure that you can sort of get them how you would like them to be. So now I must say that my model is starting to look pretty good. I mean, I know what I'm looking at, and it's easier to sort of communicate with people and know that they are seeing the same things as I do. The final thing that I wanted to do in here is to add a couple of materials. Because right now everything is sort of AutoCAD colors, which, I mean, I like it, but not everyone might like that. So I'm going to go over to my realistic, because I've already done this a little bit. So you see that I have some grass here, I have a dark gray on my surface. But I can add a bit more. So on this seating arrangement here, I'm just going to open my properties. I can add the material. I don't have a lot of materials in here. I could add more. I'm just going to find the one that's brown. But I'm sort of wondering, like, how much does it really matter? Because I can't make it look really good. So it's all about diminishing returns. Like how much time will I spend? How much better will it be? And after a while, you just don't get it that much better. So is it worth the energy? And that's sort of where we come to our next part. We're going to talk about other functionality, other programs to see how we can do. So if I make the model in here, there's other programs like Twinmotion that we're going to show today that can actually do it much better than what I can do in here. So it's not worth it for me to do it in here. So this is fine. This is fine. This is enough that I want to do. I want to do one more thing though. I want to have the pavements. So right now everything is grass, but I don't have my pavements because I should have my walking paths here. So I've actually prepared a surface for that. So I have a surface here called pavements. Just going to rebuild that one, and then I'm going to open it, or I'm going to turn it on. I've turned it off before, that's why I don't see it. So there I have my pavements. And this pavement is actually created as a copy. That's why I had to rebuild it, because it's created as a copy of my new ground. And then I've added a couple of boundaries on it. So it's only showing the triangles that are a part of my pavements here. But since I added my stairs, I have too much triangles. So the green triangles here are the pavement triangles. So I need to remove them. And I said that I have boundaries. So if I open up, or I turn on rather, my boundaries, we can see that we have boundaries here that control the amount of triangles. So I need to move them so that it's covering all the triangles I don't want to use. As soon as I do that and I rebuild, you'll see that the triangles disappear. And if I go back here, what we should see is that the pavement is just on the top and bottom. Now, you'll notice that it disappeared. That is because these are on the same elevation. And the only thing that I found during my years of working with these programs that is consistent in not showing, or rather showing stuff that's above each other. Now you see that's coming back again. The only thing that's consistent is if they are not on the same elevation. That's the only solution that I found that is consistent every time. There's draw order, there's display order. I don't like it. So my solution for sort of getting the pavements to always show if they are on the same elevation as my grass is to move it slightly up. So I can have my raise lower and then just say add 1 centimeter to my pavement. So they are slightly above my grass. And that just means that whatever I do, they will always show. And you're not going to see that centimeter. You need to zoom in really, really far to see that centimeter. But it's not something that you see anywhere else. So there you get your pavements. So that was the last thing about this model that I wanted to show you. Since I have a couple more minutes until, because I said I was going to talk for about half an hour, so Torbjörn is probably not really ready yet. I have 4 more minutes. But I just wanted to show you one final thing, and that's traffic signs. In this model, it doesn't really make sense to have traffic signs. I'm just going to show you how it looks, even though it doesn't, they don't really fit with this model, if I put it like that. But in Naviate, you have traffic signs. Now, and these are created as 3D. So if I just do insert sign holder, we can see how it looks. The library that I'm using right now is a Swedish library. In Naviate, we have more or less complete libraries for Sweden, Norway, and Finland. We have example libraries for US and UK. But if you have your own libraries, you can use that. So that's something that we can also assist you with in how it works. But if I just place a surface, a sign here, and I'm going to say I'm going to place this on the new ground because they respect the surfaces as well. Just going to click insert, and then I'm just going to place it in the middle here of my trees. Like I said, it doesn't make sense to have it here in this model because there's no good way of placing them. But I'm just going to place 3D model there. And what I get then is a pretty nice traffic sign here in between my trees. And it does make a lot of difference when you do these traffic signs to sort of see where you are and how they look. So it is worth it sort of if you can get traffic signs from your country to add them, because it's a really good way of placing where you are in the world to get these traffic signs. But it's entirely possible to use the Naviate traffic to get these 3D models in. And they, some of them are solid, some of them are regions. So it depends on how you use them. But I just wanted to show you that that is a part of it as well, if you have those available to you. So that was really the final thing that I wanted. So let's move over to are you ready, Torbjörn?
I've been ready for a long time.
Always ready. Let's just say how we actually got it over to you. I did an IFC. So from this, because everything in here is a solids, or I can create solids from them. So what I did was I created solids from all my objects, and then I exported to an IFC model. And that is what I sent to Torbjörn, and we'll see how he took care of that model. If you want to start.
Yes, I think you need to make me a presenter, I think, to get everything.
Oh, you wanna be a presenter as well?
Yeah, otherwise it will be a guesswork, I think.
Probably.
So let's see. I hope this is visible for everyone.
Yes.
So I have a bit of a cold, so I will make strange sounds from time to time. So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of your webinar, Caroline. It was nice of you. My name is Torbjörn. I work for Symmetry in the Stockholm office. I generally work for architects, and I generally work with Revit. So I don't know anything about these infra things. So I would like to tell you a bit about how you can use a really good opportunity to try out Twinmotion, which is a real-time visualization program. And Twinmotion is actually part of the package that you have available if you have the AAC collection. So it's supposed to be for Revit. It says Revit there, that Revit people get it, and it's mentioned everywhere that this is for Revit, but well, don't believe them. But anyway, the first step that we had to do was actually, I'm sorry to use Revit, because we need to import the model to Twinmotion in order to visualize it. And Twinmotion doesn't really accept IFC, and it doesn't really accept AutoCAD files. So We have to trick it a bit. And you can use Revit, or we believe you can use Navisworks as well. So I start here on Revit. I will link in the file that I got from Caroline. So Revit is a really slow program, so it will take a little while for it to process all those triangles and stuff, but there we are. So some things didn't carry over. I lost the trees. I think I lost the railings as well, but I do have some signs over here. Interesting. So I will try to send this to Unreal, and the first thing I need to do is actually take a second look at this. So I will just open it up one more time because Revit is Revit. Just verify that everything looks fine. And there we are. So I will go for File, I will do Export, and I will send it to an FBX, which is one of the file format that Twinmotion will be able to import. You can choose FBX 2015 or FBX not 2015, and honestly, I have no idea if it makes a difference. It doesn't apparently matter too much. Twinmotion looks like this when I start it up. You get the chance to visualize your shoes on your watch. I think we pause on that. And you get an empty space, something like this. And the only thing I do is I go for File. I make sure I'm signed into Epic Games, which is there. And if you have ever heard of Epic Games before, it is the company that basically brings you Fortnite. And Fortnite is built on the same system that Twinmotion is running on. So you're actually running a game engine. This is a computer game. There are no scores and you don't get shot, but it is a computer game. There are some options just when you import the IFC or the FBX from here. Generally do keep hierarchy. Most of the things that Caroline might have set up, like material and things, might not carry over. They get lost in the IFC conversions. But keep hierarchy, because then you will get more objects than if you collapse. Otherwise, the other options are probably just fine. So I get this enormous brown thing in here. And it's not like I'm struck by the beauty of the visualization just yet. On my right side, I have something like a navigator. I can see the objects in my view. I can change the view of the ambience or the overall look on the feel of the entire thing. And I can also hide things. And here I see here is total to IFC. And I see the files, and I can hide them, turn them on and off and things like that. I can also delete them. And I can actually also move them. So if I realize that something like this path that she was making, maybe there needed to be moved a little bit, I can actually do that. If she made a light post and it kind of needs to be moved a little bit, I can probably do that. But to keep things simple, the first thing I do, I apply materials. So on the left side, I have a menu. I go into materials, and all this is included with Twinmotion. I go for, let's go for brick, and I will just pick one of the bricks and just drag and drop basically. And you need to be a little bit careful, because if you're dragging and dropping and everything kind of highlights, then you need to go up here and change this one to apply to object instead of apply to everything. And it took me a few times to realize that. So now you can actually apply a material to each object separately, which is much better. And then also for some reason, as a tip, these materials almost all the time comes in the wrong scale. And I found that the easiest way to fix it is to set the scale for 10. Then there is probably a setting somewhere, but I never realized where it is. So setting it to 10, now I actually have brick materials on my houses. And of course, we need to have some ground. So I will go here for materials, ground, man-made or nature. Well, that's a bit of a stretch, I guess, but let's do grass. I just put the grass down there. And I can also apply the materials from the lower window where I have the materials loaded, and that's a good idea, since one more time I will need to go here and adjust the scale. So let's drag this grass over there. Have a look around. Yeah, we have the light posts as well. I suppose they are made of metal or something like that. Chrome, gold, copper, silver. No, that's too expensive. Galvanized steel. That's the way. So just simply dragging them into the model, I will just override the material that Caroline did. And the way that I'm navigating around the model now is the same buttons that you use for navigating in a computer game. So it is W for walking forward, and S for backwards, and A and D for walking to side. And looking around, just like a computer game, you hold down your right mouse button. So these are the paths, and oh, Caroline, this doesn't look good. Still a bit over each other. So I think I will need to move this one up a little bit. So try to click on that, go down here on X, Y, and Z, and just raise it up 0.5 maybe. Yeah, now it is clearly above the area. So I go here and let's see, we need more materials. This is the last material, I promise. Man-made. Yeah, and asphalt is definitely man-made. Here, let's double click, check. So I have the scale 10. Yeah, now we have asphalt here. Karen wanted some kind of weird stone thing over here, I think. So let's go over here and try to see what we can find. Man-made stone things, old cobblestone, round, wavy ones. I think that maybe that one is a good one. So just drag it in, select it, and well, you know how to do it. You need to go and check the scale for it, so it's get scale up as well, 10. Maybe she will be happy with that, but I'm not sure. Last brown thing, let's just go asphalt on that one. So just like that, I have a quick new view of new material and a new look of everything. So the next step is to fill it up with things that got lost in the transformation. So I go for library, materials, I was just there. So next is vegetation. And I suppose trees. There's a nice big library of trees. I should probably know more about trees than I do, but I can't. I will just pick one. I will just drag and drop the Katsura tree in here. Just like that. And then they will generally find the surface. And as you can see, probably it's better if you have more triangles than this. So maybe you could request a bit of a heavier file from Caroline. If you want a bit of variation in your trees, you can do that, because you can click one of the trees. If I escape a couple of times, click one of the trees, and I can also change here on the side. So if it is a autumn tree, maybe it's a mix of autumn and summer here, and I can also select it, and I can change the age of the tree. And I guess that's normal with trees, but if it ages, it grows. So a tree that has a low age is a younger tree, I suppose. So we have the trees, and of course we need to have some people here so we get some sense of scale as well. So go here for library and characters and animated humans. So these look a little bit scary, actually, if you look closely at them. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there's something about them that you get a little bit, especially that girl. She's somehow, yeah, I will take her. She's the scariest of them all, actually. You will see when I zoom in on her. So she's just standing around here, and her best friend is here as well. And her best friend Ryan here, he's busy. Let's see what Ryan is doing here. He is speaking. Oh, he's playing, of course, and he's playing his second game, his fourth game. Now he can't fly around with an airplane. Yeah, he will do that. That's good. He will play football right there. And somewhere over here, so one of her friends will be sitting talking on the phone. So we drag her in. Yeah, of course she's talking on the phone. Regular thing everybody does these days. So let's set her for sitting as well. So she will stay at her place. Leaning back at this wonderful concrete wall there. Excellent. And how is she sitting? She's reading a newspaper. Nobody reads the newspaper anymore. Talking on the phone, that's the way. That's the way. Yeah, perfect. If I wanted to add more traffic signs and light posts and things like that, the library is quite extensive. You have a lot of things here. As a standard thing, just to show that it is my model, I always add a couple of cats as well. So I will add a cat over there. Most of my colleagues don't know this, but I've hidden cats in most of their models. So excellent. So I want to make it a little bit more, something more like alive before I make some videos or some pictures from this. So I will change the ambience of this environment. So what is the weather right now? Is it winter? Maybe it's Göteborg, so it is just rain, snow, rain, snow, rain. So you can change the look and feel of your view quite a lot. And one of the things that really changes is to use this HDRI environment. So that one will use a light globe, basically. And there is even a library of these ones inside. So now I can look up here and I will see this thing. I can rotate, I can increase the intensity, and I can rotate the clouds around. And it's more or less what I want it to be. If I want to add something on this big field here, or maybe I want to add a lot of things, I can go and populate. And I can populate foliage. And let's just make some grass could be nice. Let's see, I need to click that one again. Paint, yeah, there it is. Some grass, some weed. I'm not quite sure what weed is. I'm not going to say anything about weed because it might be a recorded one. Some buttercups, yes. And maybe we can add a little bit of some little stones, something like a bit of rock and stuff like that. Here. And now I can actually paint this combination of flowers and grass and weed just over this area, just like this. Oops. And suddenly this looks like so much nicer, at least in my view, but I will have to present it to Caroline eventually, and she might not agree, of course. And if you realize that you have a little bit too many of each one of these, you can actually reduce them. So you can go here and say, yeah, I want a lot of grass. I don't want that much weed. And not so many puppies. Rocks, no, there are too many rocks. Yes, rudess and buttercups. They ended up everywhere. Well, you can change the size of it, and eventually you have the view that you're looking for. So once you have decorated your entire model with the things you want, you can of course make some images from this. So I go down on the lower part and go for media and do a plus, and now I can actually make a small screen from here, so we can look right here through the trees, so you're observing those people playing over there. And just by pressing over here, I will use the built-in renderer. And this is a scary thing for my computer because it actually doesn't fulfill the requirements. You need a gaming computer to get the full requirements of this, or the full effect of it. But you can play around with this, and you actually have a real-time rendering for looking at your model. You can also present video, so you can make like small moving things. You can do a panorama, and you can do what's called a presentation. You can actually send this to somebody else as a little computer game, and your customer can walk around and look around in the model. And there is a thing called phasing, where you can actually make a time process so that you can turn on and off objects at a time, so they will basically grow. The buildings will not be visible, and then one is visible, and then the second visible, and so on and so forth. And then these ones get exported. It's very, very simple to get started in. It's really, really fun. As soon as you get started, you can't stop doing it. And you have an enormous library of stuff. Once you start exploring the Sketchfab area here, well, it just never ends. And then you will have a great afternoon. So I hope you're happy with my visualization of your little park, Caroline.
Definitely, it's much prettier than what I could do in Civil 3D. So, but it's pretty awesome to see that from the pretty rough model that I was able to create in Civil, we can do something that looks very nice. Of course, with added and materials and stuff like that, but it's still the basis that that we do in civil. So it's really fun to see. So thank you for being a part of it.
Now you can see how scary the girl was. So don't look closely, because you won't be able to see.
No, AI people are still crazy. So
Still crazy.
That's good. Good. It doesn't look like we have any questions. So probably means that we were very clear, both of us. As we said, it's recorded, so if you want to go back and take a look at it. How long would you say it takes to learn and sort of get to the level that you're at with Twinmotion?
Oh, I am at a very, very low level. So half a day, definitely. And there's a lot of support and videos on YouTube, and it's really simple. Really simple.
Yeah, that's good. And as we said, the method that we got here was via FBX, and the two programs that we found is Navisworks and Revit that can do it, but it's probably more ways of getting information from one to another. But that's something we can explore another part.
Yeah. Do not try AutoCAD files and going through AutoCAD. That ended up really, really badly. So,
yeah, we tried that, but no. AutoCAD DVG would probably be the worst part of it. So IFC worked fine, but that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that presentation. We actually got a question here. Do we have courses? Do we have courses in Twinmotion? I don't think we have any courses in Twinmotion.
No, actually not, because you can learn it yourself.
Yeah.
But if you want to know more about Twinmotion, just reach out to us, and we'll point you in the right directions.
Yeah, sounds good. And it's a part of your AEC collection. So.
Yep.
AutoCAD lines. No, it needs to be. The question was, does AutoCAD's lines work? I would assume no. This is all solids.
Oh.
And it needs to be sort of a object, a physical object.
Yeah, generally anything that goes to IFC, and IFC will only accept objects that have surfaces. So no lines, no field regions, no hatch patterns, those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the follow-up was a 2D plan. Yes, the idea here is that what I was showing in Civil 3D. I mean, you can do that kind of modeling in 3D and still use that as a 2D plan. So, but as you said, if you have a 2D plan, then you need to make a 3D model from that 2D plan. That's where we base everything from. So, but that's standard for Civil 3D, is to work in 3D even if it looks 2D. So, but to get here, you need to have 3D objects. That's correct. And like I said, I had to export everything to solids, which means that from my surfaces, I had to go to solids as well. So if I had to do an update, there is a few things that I would have to redo, but most of it would do that. Question about courses. If you take a look at symmetry.se, you can find our courses there. So we have quite a lot of courses for the Swedish area. There's courses for all the different areas, let's put it like that. So if you take a look at symmetry.se or .co.uk or .us, we have all kinds of courses and this different, also handling more basic stuff, definitely. So, but yeah, Twinmotion is just, sounds like, it looks like a playground basically, and which is pretty much what it is. So, good. Then I think we're done for today. So I want to thank you and thank Torbjörn for showing us what we can do. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks when we have the next one. So thank you for today.